Please, Pratigya, take it away.
Thank you, Eric. Hello, and a big warm welcome to everybody from across the world to the Chennai Storytelling Festival 2026. In the 14th edition of our festival, as always, we have a lineup of workshops, a lineup of stories for children, stories for adults. We also have stories in different Indian languages. And yes, we are going to start off right away. Uh, the first event at this festival, at the 14th edition of the festival, is a storytelling session for adults. Incidentally, we have 14 of these 2-hour story sessions, and this is the first one. And we are going to begin right away with a storyteller from USA. Naveed Moeed from North Carolina. Let me just find you, Naveed. Naveed, can you wave out to me so it's easy for me to find you, please? Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Please unmute yourself. I'm adding you to the spotlight. Naveed, is this your first time at the Chennai Storytelling Festival?
Yes, it is my first time.
Wow, we have a debut kicking start, the entire one. Excellent. Naveed is joining us from North Carolina, USA. He's going to be sharing a story, a folk tale from West Africa called Kadu's Wall. Naveed, please introduce yourself fully and share your story with us.
Thank you. Vanakkam, namaste, salam. My name is Naveed Moeed. I am a British Pakistani, multilingual. I reside in North Carolina as a photographer, but primarily as a theatre critic and playwright, which is, I feel, somehow appropriate. I've been in the US for 13 years. I've lived all over the world, in Dubai, in the Netherlands, in Germany, and of course in the UK. This story, Caddo's Wall, originates from West Africa. And is there anything else I should introduce about myself? I'm not sure I'm the first person who's doing an introduction. Okay, I think that I will start with the
That would do,
story.
Naveed. Just go ahead. Yes, whatever you're comfortable with.
All right, thank you so much. Once there was a kingdom called Seno in the North Gulf of Guinea, which, to place it in modern times, is where Ghana is today. And this small kingdom was just in a little nook and cranny of its own. And there lived a rich man there whose name was Caddo. His fields spread far and wide out on every side of the town. At ploughing time, hundreds of men and boys hoed up his fields. And then hundreds of women and girls planted his corn seed on the ground for him. His grain bulged in his granary because each season he harvested far more than he could use. The name of Caddo was known far and wide throughout the kingdom of Seno, and travellers who passed through the town carried tales of his wealth far beyond Seno's borders. One day Caddo called all of his people in the town of Tendella together for a big meeting in front of his house. They all came, for Caddo was a very important man. Hence, they knew that what he had to announce was surely equally important. There is something that bothers me, Caddo said. I have lain awake worrying, and I have so much grain in my granary that I don't know what to do with it. The people listened attentively and pondered, and then a man said, some of the people in the town have no corn at all. They are very poor and have nothing. Why don't you give them some of your corn? Caddo shook his head. No, that isn't a very good idea. It doesn't satisfy me. Another man said to Caddo, well, then you could lend your excess corn to the people who've had a bad harvest and have no seed for the spring planting. What That would be a very good thing to keep poverty away. No, 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 said Caddo. That's no solution either. Well then, why not sell some of your corn and buy cattle instead? Caddo shook his head. No, that's not very good advice. It's hard for common people to advise a rich man with problems like mine. Many others in the crowd gathered to make suggestions, but nobody's advice suited Caddo. He thought for a while, and at last he said, Send me as many young girls as you can find. I will have them grind the corn for me. So the people went away. They were angry. But the next day they sent 100 girls to work for him, as he had asked. On 100 grindstones, they began to grind Caddo's corn into flour. All day long they put corn into grindstones and took flour out. All day long the people of the town heard the sound of grinding at Caddo's house. A pile of corn began to grow. For 7 days and 7 nights the girls ground the corn without pause, and when the last grain of corn was ground to flour, Caddo called all the girls together and said, Now bring water from the spring. We shall mix it with the corn flour to make mortar out of it. So the girls brought water in pots and mixed the water with the flour to make a thick mortar. Then Caddo ordered them to form bricks out of the mortar. When the bricks are dry, then I shall make a wall around my house, he said. Word spread throughout the kingdom of Seno that Caddo was preparing to build a wall of flour around his house, and the people of the town gathered at Caddo's door to protest. You can't do a thing like this. It is against humanity, they said. Another shouted loudly, This is not right. People have no right to build walls out of food. What is right and wrong? Caddo replied. My right is different from yours because I'm so very rich. So leave me alone. Corn is to eat so that you may keep alive, another shouted. It is not meant to taunt those who are less fortunate. When people are hungry, it is an affront to shut them out with a wall of flour, shouted another. Stop your complaints, Caddo said. The corn is mine. It is my surplus. I can't eat it all. It comes from my own fields. I am rich. What good is it to be rich if you can't do what you want with your own property? The people of the town went away, shaking their heads in anger over Caddo's madness. The 100 girls continued to make bricks out of the flour which they dried in the sun, and when the bricks were dried, Caddo had them begin building the wall around his house. They used wet dough for mortar to hold the bricks together, and slowly the wall grew. They stuck cowrie shells into the wall to make beautiful designs, and when at last the wall was done and the last of the cornflour used up, Caddo was very proud. He walked back and forth, admiring his wall. He walked around it. He went in and out of the gate. He was very happy. And now, when the people came to see him, they had to stand by the gate until he asked them to enter. When the workers who ploughed and planted for Caddo wanted to talk to him, Caddo sat on the wall by the gate and listened to them and gave orders. And whenever the people of the town wanted his opinion on a matter, he sat on the wall and gave it to them, while they stood below and listened. Things went on like this for a long time. Caddo enjoyed his reputation as the richest man around. The story of Caddo's wall spread to the farthest part of the kingdom, and then one year, there was a bad harvest for Caddo. There wasn't enough rain to grow the corn, and the earth dried up hard and dusty like the road. There wasn't a single ear of corn in Caddo's fields or the fields of his relatives. The next year, it was the same. Caddo had no seed corn left, so he sold his cattle and his horses to buy corn for food and seed. For a new planting, he sowed the corn again. But what happened? The next harvest time it was the same, and there wasn't a single ear of corn on all his fields. Year after year, Caddo's crops failed. Some of his relatives died of hunger, and others moved away to other parts of the kingdom of Senno, for they had no more seed corn to plant, and they couldn't count on Caddo's help. Caddo's workers left because he was no longer able to feed them, and gradually Caddo's part of the town became deserted. All that he had left were a young daughter and a mangy donkey. With his cattle and money all gone, Caddo became very hungry. So he scraped away a little bit of the flour wall and ate it. The next day, he scraped some more and ate that. The wall got lower and lower and lower. Little by little, it disappeared. Finally, a day came when the wall was gone. Nothing was left of Caddo's elegant structure that he had built to surround his house, and on which he sat when the townspeople would come and ask him to lend them a little seed corn. Finally, Caddo realized that if he was to survive, he must get help from someone, somewhere. He wondered who might help him. Not the people of Tendella, not the people in the kingdom of Senno, for he had insulted and mistreated them, and they would have nothing to do with him. So there was only one place he could go. Sogole, the king of the Ghana people, who had a reputation of being wise and kind. So Caddo and his daughter got on the mangy, underfed donkey and rode 7 days until they arrived in the land of the Ghana. Sogole sat before his royal house when Caddo arrived. He had a soft skin put on the ground next to him for Caddo to sit upon, and millet beer brought for the two of them to drink. "Well, stranger, in the land of Ghana, take a long drink, for you have a long trip behind you if you come from the kingdom of Senno," Sogole said. "Thank you, but I can't drink much," Caddo said. "Why is that?" Sogole asked. "When people are thirsty, they drink." "That is true," Caddo replied, "but I have been hungry too long, and my stomach is shrunk." "Well, drink in peace, because now that you are my guest, you won't be hungry. You shall have whatever you need from me." Caddo nodded his head solemnly and drank a little of the millet beer. "And now tell me," Sogole said, "you say you come from the kingdom of Senno. I've heard many tales of the town of Tendella, the famine that came there and drove out many because they had no corn left." "Yes," Caddo said. "Hard times drove them out, and all the corn was gone. But tell me, there was a rich and powerful man in the town of Tendella by the name of Caddo, wasn't he? Whatever happened to him? Is he still alive?" "Yes, he's still alive," replied Caddo. "A fabulous man, this Caddo. They say he built a wall of flour around his house, and when he talked to his people, he sat on top of the wall. Is this true?" "Yes, it is true," Caddo said. "Does he still have as many cattle as he used to?" Sogole asked. "No, they are all gone." "Oh, it is an unhappy thing for a man who owns so much to come to so little," said Sogole, and he looked sad. "But still, does he not have many servants and workers?" "His servants and workers are all gone," Caddo said. "Of the great household, he has only one daughter left. The rest went away because there was no food and no money." Sogole looked melancholy. "Ah, what is a rich man when he has his cattle gone and his servants have left him? But tell me, what about the magnificent wall of flour with the cowrie shells that he built around his house?" "He ate the wall," Caddo answered. Each day he scraped a little of the flour from the wall until it was all gone. A strange story, said Sagar, but such is life. And he thought for a while about the way life goes for people, and then asked, and were you, by any chance, a relative of Caddo? Indeed, I was once one of Caddo's family. Once I was rich. Once I had more cattle than I could count. Once I had many cornfields. Once I had hundreds of workers cultivating my crops. Once I had a bursting granary. Once I was Caddo, the great personage of Tendella. What? You yourself are Caddo? Yes. Once I was proud and lordly, and now I sit before you begging for help. What can I do for you? Sagar asked. I have nothing left now. Give me some seed corn so that I can go back and plant my fields again. Take what you need, Sagar said. He ordered his servants to bring bags of corn and to load them on Caddo's donkey. Caddo thanked him humbly, and he and his daughter started their return trip to Tendella. They travelled for 7 days. But on the way, Caddo became very hungry. He hadn't seen so much corn for a long time. He took a few grains and put them into his mouth and chewed them, and then took a few more and did the same. Then he put a whole handful in his mouth and swallowed. He couldn't stop. He ate and ate and ate and ate. He forgot that this was the corn that was given to him to plant his fields. And when he arrived home, he went to his bed asleep. And when he rose the next morning, he ate again. He ate so much of the corn, he became sick. He went to his bed again and cried out in pain because his stomach had forgotten what to do with food. And before long, Caddo died. Caddo's grandchildren and great-grandchildren in the kingdom of Senna are poor to this day. And to the rich men of the country, the common people sometimes say, don't build a wall of flour around your house.
Such a beautiful story, Naveed, and so well delivered as well. I mean, I could see Padu and I could see the king, and amazing. Let me just open it out to the audience first. Would anybody want to share some thoughts with Naveed? And then we can go on with some discussions as well. Yes, David, please go ahead. David, please go ahead.
I just want to say,
I'm sorry, David, you're
we
breaking
can't
up a
hear
little
you
bit.
clearly. You're breaking up. Do you want to try putting your video off?
okay,
Maybe that might help.
all right. Can you hear me better now?
A little better, yes.
Okay, I apologise for the sound quality. I'm in the car. Naveed, I just want to say how much I appreciate you beginning this festival with such a powerful story and such a meaningful story at this time. It just seems to fit the times that we're in. I was surprised the fact that the main character actually didn't learn. I thought when he received the grain at the end, he was going to go on a cycle of learning and become generous. But of course, this was his nature. And
David, we lost you again. All right, maybe we'll come back to him. Yes, Naveed.
Yeah, maybe David will come back, but maybe I can fill in. So this was it. As David said, this was why I chose this story. Sadly, it is timely. And I think it is timely from two perspectives. As David mentioned, Caddo doesn't learn. And as much as we rub our hands in anguish at those in power who do not learn, sometimes we have to look in on ourselves for how much learning we are missing. That is all around us. And that is why this storytelling festival is so wonderful and so precious, because it is a place for us to sit and learn, and in a way that really where the learning really sits in our hearts. I wonder if David's back to finish his comment, but maybe we can move to the next one instead.
Yes. June, you want to go ahead?
Yes, Naveed, I'll just comment on what David said. It was a wonderful way to open the festival. It started as thinking right away, but I'd like to comment on the way you presented that story. Your facial features and your actions and everything just contributed so much. I could see you eating the corn. So the whole presentation was excellent, and thank you for sharing that with us.
Thanks, June. Thanks for that. Barry, you want to go ahead?
Yes, yes. Navita, I loved your telling of the story. I loved your tone. I loved your pacing, and the just the gravitas you bring to it is wonderful. And I have to say, I'm so glad I was able to come back in. I'm at a school, and I was supposed to start at 7:45, but I didn't have my first class because I really wanted to hear this story, because this is a story I tell frequently in a very different way. And of course, the relevance is unmissable. And as you know, I live in a country with a leader who talked a lot about building walls. And
Yes.
and I have to say, I told this story once to I think a group of sixth graders in Buenos Aires in Argentina. And when I got to the point where I say, and so Cato said, I don't know what to do with all my corn. I know, I'll build a wall. And through the sixth graders, Tron, Tron, Tron. Talking about Tron. It's like a worldwide thing. Everyone knows. And so I was really excited that I had the chance. When I saw that you were telling this to kick off, and I looked at the timing and didn't think I'd be able to be here. I'm really glad that I did, and really appreciate hearing it and seeing what you do with it. And it's wonderful. Thanks.
Thanks for that, Barry. Niana, you want to go ahead?
Sure. Hi. Thank you so much. I so appreciate what everyone is saying. And this is my second year. So I want to welcome you and say how thrilled we are that you are here and you've brought us this story. And I'm looking forward to how we're all seeing our stories now and how they're going to. I was hoping this would make a difference, and I think you have started us making a difference. And I love the heart that you put in. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Niana. Rachel, you want to go ahead, please?
I too agree with everything that everyone else said. And your telling was slow-paced and vivid and not overwrought, but what you said is profound. You built the story up slowly and kept on developing the character in terms of, with each step, when he could be generous, he became more and more stingy and more selfish. And then the contrast when he went to a rich man who was unselfish and generous and giving. And I agreed with David. I thought he would turn around and become generous, but he stayed true to his character. And I have to say that I know people who have been starved in war experiences. And many of them had the same experience of being so hungry that they overate, made themselves sick, and died. So I wanted to say that aspect of your storytelling is also very, very true. And the way you told your story and the power of that story is one that will stay with me for a long time. So thank you.
In the last couple of minutes, I'd like to give a couple of thanks, if that's okay. So I would very much like to thank Dennis Corcoran, or also known as Donaha. He is my playwriting collaborator. We have written 3 plays together, and he was the one who introduced me to Eric. I would also like to deeply thank Lauren, who I studied under last year, and who's also going to be giving a wonderful workshop. So please do try and attend that if you can. And finally, Milbury Burt, who is my neighbor and a fellow. She's a very good friend and in my writing group, and she was the one who coached me and introduced me to Caddo's Wall. So I want to thank those people.
Thank you, Naveed. As everybody's been telling, it was a very well-paced story and definitely just the right kind of story for us to kickstart the festival with. Because a lot of stories that are shared here do force us to think and ponder, and more often than not, these stories stay with us for a very long time. And we keep coming back to them, and most of us want to share these stories, but it also gets us thinking a lot. And what I particularly liked, unfortunately, is the fact that he remains what he was. You know, he doesn't learn. And as you very rightly pointed out, it's very easy to point that out to others. Oh, that person is like that. Or we see these politicians who never learn. But how often do we look within? And that is so true. It's easier said than done. It's definitely easier said than done. Thank you so much once again for such a powerful story. There's a long list of comments that's been coming. Please read through them. We'll move on to our next teller. Is there anything else you want to add, Naveed?
I want to thank everyone for their time, but also as storytellers, as performers. Even on Zoom, we rely on the energy that is coming. And as remote as this medium is, I still felt that energy from all of you. And I want to thank you for being part of the story.
Thank you so much, Naveed. With that, we move on to our second teller for the day. Our next teller is Joanne Calem. Joanne, I'm not too sure if I'm pronouncing your name right. Let me just...
Joanie Calem.
Joanie Calem. Thank you for that. Joanie Calem is joining us from Ohio, USA. And she's going to be sharing an Israeli folktale with us. Be as soft as a reed, not as stiff as a cedar. Joanie, please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about your work and share your story with us.
Well, first of all, I want to thank Naveed. That was a wonderful, wonderful story. I'm like, ooh, I'm not sure how to follow that one. That was so beautiful. And I also found myself so sad that Kato never learned, never changed. And yet that is a reality we must all be aware of. So I'm a singer-songwriter and a storyteller. And this is a story that I first learned in Israel, but truthfully, it is a story that comes from all over the Jewish world. It can be found in lots of different places. And there's a written version of it in a beautiful book by the storyteller Penina Shram, who I'm sure that some of you have heard of, in a book called Tales of Elijah the Prophet. But before we get to Elijah the prophet, we need to talk about Yochanan, the rabbi. And Yochanan, he woke up on the last day of his studies. He was done. It was time to go out into the world and take on his new post as head rabbi for his hometown, where he had not been for 10 years, while he was away at yeshiva, the rabbinical seminary, where he was studying to be a rabbi. And Yochanan was so thrilled to be going home. He was so thrilled to be becoming the head rabbi of his hometown. And he was eager to get on his way, but before he could leave, the head of the yeshiva, Rabbi Meir, called all of the departing students and wanted to give them some final words of wisdom. But he started off saying, "My students, really, I must be thanking you because you have been my teachers for so many years. You are wise. You are learned. You know our teachings inside and out. You are ready to go forth. But I do want to give you just one last instruction before you go. I want you to remember, always be as soft and pliant as the reed, which means to always speak kindly to all. And don't ever be as stiff and unbending as the cedar tree, which means do not be unforgiving when someone has insulted you." Yochanan thought about his teacher's words and filed them away in his head, because he knew that surely they were useful, but he couldn't quite see how they applied right at the moment. He said his goodbyes to everyone, and he went on his way. And it was a beautiful day. Springtime, the birds were singing, sun was shining. It was just the right temperature for walking the many hours that he needed to walk to get to his hometown. And as he walked along, he thought about the last 10 years and how nice it had been to be the star student at the yeshiva. How good it felt to be so respected. And then his thoughts turned to, the townspeople and how they were going to receive him and welcome him back. And he had left as a child, but now he was coming back as a man. And, "Master! Master! Do you have a moment for me, please?" Yochanan was startled out of his dreams. And he looked around and "Master, master, master, do you have a moment for me, please?" And he looked around and saw a very small dwarf of a man, all bent and hunched over and twisted. And "Is everyone from your town as ugly as you?"
"Master, those are words you should take up with my Maker. He is the one that made me in his image and his likeness."
The dwarf, who was named Gedalia, which Yochanan will find out in the course of the next few hours, was hurt. He had been used to people being scornful, but this rabbi's words really, But Gedalia shook it off and started walking forward. And Yochanan realized in that piercing second what he had done. Oh my goodness, he threw himself at Gedalia's feet. "Forgive me, I am so sorry. What have I done? Please forgive me. I don't know what I was thinking. I was dreaming of how people were going to respect me, and I'm so sorry."
"Yes, you take that sorry to the one who made me in his image and likeness. Perhaps he will forgive you." And Gedaliah continued to walk on the way, and Yochanan continued to beg for forgiveness, and they continued that way for many, many miles. Gedaliah walking stalwartly forward, and Yochanan begging and groveling at his feet. Now the people of the town knew that today was the day that Yochanan, their new rabbi, the child that had left and was coming back as a rabbi, was returning to the fold, and they were so eager to greet him that they decided to run out and meet him on the road. And a whole crowd of people left the village and were walking down the road when they saw in the distance, they saw two figures coming towards them, and they knew that one of them must be Yochanan. And they ran to greet these two figures, and they enveloped Yochanan and Gedaliah in this cheering crowd. "Oh, we are so happy you are back. We are so pleased to see you. Yochanan, look how you have grown. We cannot wait to welcome you into the synagogue to give your first sermon." Yochanan said nothing. And the townspeople thought that this was a sign of how humble he was and how modest he was, and that made them love him even more, and they cheered, and they wanted to lift him up on their shoulders, and he no. "Who is it that you are cheering for?" Gedaliah piped in.
"Oh, don't you know? Your roadside companion is Yochanan, the great rabbi."
"That's the rabbi? Ah, God help us all if that is your rabbi."
And Gedaliah proceeded to tell the townspeople what had happened with Yochanan, the great rabbi, a couple of miles back on the road. And the townspeople looked at Yochanan's face, and they could tell that this was true. And Yochanan hung his head. "Yes, all that he says is true, and I've been asking for his forgiveness, and he will not forgive me. I know I wronged this soul. I know I wronged this human. I know I wronged this beautiful person, and I so wish he would forgive me." And the townspeople surrounded Gedaliah and said, "Please, you can see how much he repents. Please forgive him." And Gedaliah looked at Yochanan and said,
"Well, if you would only remember to be as soft and pliant as the reed, not stiff and unbending as the cedar, then the one who made you and I will certainly forgive you."
Yochanan stared at Gedaliah. How did Gedaliah? Oh. In a flash, Yochanan realized Gedaliah was actually Elijah the prophet. See, in Jewish folklore, Elijah the prophet never died, and he has the uncanny habit of appearing in just the right form, with just the right words, at just the right time, to teach us each what we most need to learn. Oh! Yochanan fell to his knees, ready to thank Gedaliah again. But Gedaliah was gone. Yochanan stood up and opened his eyes to the townspeople and allowed himself to be drawn back to the town. Because now,
After all those years of studying texts and memorizing verses and learning every section of Jewish teaching, he truly knew that what he had needed, he had learned in the last few hours on the road, to be as soft and pliant as a reed, not stiff and unbending as a cedar. And unlike Cato, Yochanan remembered this.
Thank you. Thank you for that beautiful story. And it's good to know. I mean, as storytellers, often we like to have a positive ending to a story, it gives you a hope, that
It
something
does.
is possible. Change is possible. We can learn. Thank you for that wonderful offering.
Clearly, not everyone can learn, but a
Yeah,
few
I know.
people can learn.
I think listening to this through stories gives us hope that maybe it's possible. Thank you so much for that beautiful story. Opening it out to the audience. Anybody wants to share anything? Just let me know and we can come in one by one and start sharing our thoughts. Yes, Vicky, please go ahead.
I love your voices. I thought they were wonderful. You really moved back and forth so fluidly. They were very, very fun. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Vicky. Yes, I would add to that. I've heard you share a story at the Sunday stories, and I love that rabbit in that story. Oh, I remember that story so well. Thank you so much. Shraddha, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, hi Joanie. It's wonderful to see you here in the first section of Chennai Storytelling Festival, and it was such a beautiful story and so well told. Thank you so much for sharing that story, and also a little bit of Jewish folklore that that many of us may not be very well aware of. So loved it and loved your telling. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for that, Shraddha. Nana, you want to go ahead?
Yes, hi Joni. It's so good to see you. And I just feel so proud to know that we still have Jewish storytellers who can carry our spirit and take such complex ideas and bring them to a place where we can all envelop it and just love it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for that, Nana. Yes, anybody else? Any other thoughts? Any reason for picking this particular story?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, uh, like Naveed's story, I do think that this story reflects our times. And, the the pride and the arrogance that we are seeing from so many who would like to call themselves leaders, who claim that they know better than everyone else, and who are, in my opinion, leading us in very, very unhealthy ways. I think this is a story that resonates for me. When I first learned this story, I learned the title of the story that the storyteller, I don't remember their name now, but the title of the story was "Be as pliant as the reed, not as unbending as the cedar." But in Pnina's book, she calls it "The Repentant Rabbi." And I do think that, growth and change and transformation requires us to, as Naveed was pointing out, requires us to be able to look at ourselves and to say, oh, I messed up. So I think that's, many reasons why that story had been circling around in my head. As Eric gave the theme for the festival, I was like, this is the one that I want to tell.
Great. Excellent choice. Thank you so much for that. I think we'll now, I also need to thank you for coming over now. You did say you were running short of time and I appreciate your presence here. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you for having me.
We are moving on to our next teller for the day. Now it's all the way down here to India. We have Priyanka, Sagar, Maheshwari. Let me just spotlight you. Who's joining us from Noida, India. She's sharing a folk tale from Punjab, from longing to legacy. Priyanka, please introduce yourself, tell us a little about your work, and share your story.
Greetings from India. I'm Priyanka, lovingly called Pri in the storytelling community. It's been 20 years for me with stories and theatre, and 6th year with Chennai Storytelling Festival. Every time I'm here, I leave richer. As we discussed, so much learning out here. I want to ask you, do you think there can be a story which happened generations back and still be speaking with us? Can there be a single story that can transition into different stages of love? As a storyteller, I truly believe that we don't choose the stories choose us. Ever since I've heard this story has stuck at my heart. So today, I bring to you this story. Sit back and relax and see what the story is telling you. They say that the water of the river Chenab is sweetened with love. They say that the river of Chenab has witnessed all stages of love. So on the banks of river Chenab in the state of Punjab, India, lived Tula. Tula was a potter, kumhar, someone who bakes pots and utensils out of mati, clay. A day came in the life of Tula and his wife, which brought joy and happiness. They were blessed with a baby daughter. Soni, Meri Soni. His life was filled with giggles of Soni. Soni in Punjabi means beautiful. Soni was indeed beautiful, with a complexion peaches and cream and lips like the rose petals. And as the time passed by, the beauty of Soni increased. However, as the time passed by, the eyesight of Tula weakened. So he decided to teach the entire skill of pottery, the art of baking pots, to his daughter. And young Soni started painting flowers on those earthen pots. Flowers pink and white. At the same time, far away in Uzbekistan was a tall, dark and handsome young man called Izzat Beg. Izzat Beg was a trader. Do you know who's a trader? Yes, a man who buys and sells stuff for profit. Izzat Beg, along with his co-traders, traveled to Lahore, they say. But he didn't really like Lahore. Then he reached Delhi. Not very fascinated. He learned about the pots of Tula. And there he reached Tula's house. Outside were 1,000 pots, some tall and some short, some big and some small. And between those 1,000 mud pots was sitting in surkh lal joda, in red clothes, Soni. Izzat Beg observed that she was painting those flowers. And it looked to him as if she's infusing life in those pots. Wo wala dijiye. Give me that pot. Ye to kacha hai. This isn't baked. I want that one only. And so Soni handed over the pot. The fingers touched. The hands met. Dilkashi, love at first sight it was. That night, Izzat Beg lived and relived the experience. He kept on thinking, I want to do that again. I want that feeling. He went again. आप सही कह रही थी. You were right. This is half-baked. Give me another one. Uns. Infatuation. Every day he used to reach at Tula's house. Give me that pot. Give me that button. Give me this pot. Slowly and slowly, it became love. Ishq, mohabbat. Expectations increased. Passion deepened. And when the pot of mohabbat is baked, people really come to know about it. One day, the mother faced Soni, the daughter, and Soni said, I am made for my lover. I will not live if we don't meet. I will die if we are not one. Aqidat, trust it was. Well, that era or this, society steps in. He is not from our community. He is not a potter, they said. And sadly, the parents married her off to someone who was doing good, to someone from their community, to someone who was a potter. And they married her off so that she starts living that side of the river Chenab. What happened to our hero? What happened to Izzat Beg? They say, like a fakir, like a beggar he was. He has reached the stage of devotion, ibadat. He made a hut this side of the river. All he wanted was one look of his beloved. Soni was that side and had not really ever accepted the marriage from her heart. Her husband, who was a potter, was traveling mostly in India or abroad. And perhaps using this opportunity, she didn't know swimming, but she used to pick the earthen pot, a one that was fired in the furnace, and she used to brave the waves of Chenab and go and meet Izzat Beg. Mahi, I'm here. They used to sit together and talk about their love. It was their happy place. It was sukoon for the two of them. Every night she used to go back, and next day, the same routine. One day she reached Mahi, her lover, and she squeezed her dupatta and put there for drying. Even put the pot there to dry. Mahi, badi bhukh lagi hai. I'm hungry, she said. He was poor. He had nothing. He went in the kitchen and picked up all jars, all lids. There was nothing. Do you know what he did? They say he chopped a part of his inner thigh and cooked for her. It tastes different, Mahi, she said. I've made it for my love with my love, he said. Nothing more was said, and she went by. That night, her husband's sister realized that she's never home at night. She secretly replaced the pot with a pot that was just dried up in the sun. Kachi mati. Kachi meri mati, kacha mera naam ji. The pot said, I am not baked. Don't have expectations from me, dear Soni. But Soni's love was now junoon. It was madness. I want to meet my lover, she said. We will never know if she knew or not, but my heart knows if she was the daughter of a potter, baking pots throughout her life, she knew. And still she decided to meet her lover, whether dead or alive. It was a full moon. The tides were high, the waves were rowdy, and she jumped with the pot. Within 5 minutes, the clay of the pot started mingling with the soil of the Chenab. She raised her hand, Mahi! Mahi! She shouted, Mahi! The lover saw Sony drowning and he went inside the river. He held her hand tightly. But for the injury, but for the cut leg, he couldn't swim. Should I take her this side of the river? Should I take her that side? What should I do? They kept on holding the hand. And they say next morning when the fishermen put the net, they saw not one, but two bodies holding hands. They had surrendered in love. They were one, not in life, but in death. That is the story of Soni Mahiwal from India, brought to you with love, showing the 7 stages of love. May I ask you, if you have to tell me what is love for you in just one word, single word, what would it be? Can we have the answers in the chat, please? Just one word. What is love for you? It's the month of love. Let's have some answers.
Yes, so what is love for you in a single word? You have a long list coming in there, Priyanka.
Lovely, respect, compassion, friendship, unconditional. Wow, divine, sacrifice, warmth, honesty. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Why this exercise? Just look at this. Love can mean independence for one, and love can mean care for the other. Love can mean honesty for one and unconditional for another. Yes, we hear in life what we choose to hear. Thank you. Let's sit with this question. Let's see what the answers are doing. This is more for our own self than for others. There is no judging. This is a circle of trust. Thank you, Pratigya. Thank you, everyone who's here.
Thank you, Priyanka. You really took us down a lovely, loving love story.
Thank you.
That's the best way to put it forward. Anybody, any thoughts that you would like to share with Priyanka?
I had planned an activity also,
Hello, can
but
you hear me?
yes, I'm
Hello,
here.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, I think my internet is acting up. Yes, Priyanka, please go ahead.
I said I have an activity also, but you'll have to sensitize me about the time.
Yeah, we have about 5 to 10 minutes. You can go ahead.
Oh, that's lovely. Do we all have a paper? Do we have a paper or a pen and pencil, everyone? Do you need 30 seconds to grab something? Oh, that'll be wonderful. What we're going to do is, for the next 1 minute, we are all going to become children and we're going to trace our hand. Simple? Give me a thumbs up, everyone. We're going to put the hand on the paper and trace the outline of our hand. And I'll be doing it with you. Let's do that. Okay. All right. I think I would have done that when I was 5 years old. That's fine. Anybody? Wow, thank you, Sophie. Jeff, Parvathy. Okay, so this activity can be called the loving hand. And what we have to do is, it is for you. For you. Be with yourself, stay in this space and think. Who are the 5 people in life who love you the most? Write every answer on 1 finger each. Vertically, write the name of people who love you the most. Let's do it. Good? We need more time?
I'm done. Rohini here.
I like the smile and I like the chuckle in your voice, Rohini. Okay, let's add more magic to it. Now in the center, that's the palm of her hand, let's write the name of 5 people we love dearly. Let's be authentic. First, we wrote the names of people who love us the most. And now we, at this moment, whatever comes to our mind, 5 people we love the most. Is there an overlap? Let's see. I would like to share that this activity is based on psychometric exercises. It connects us with ourselves, and the revelations and the answers may just bring up some thought while you go to bed tonight. Stay with it. See what the story is doing. See what this hand is doing. Another interesting thing before we leave is that I want to share that when you do this activity, say 2 months from now, it might bring up some other nuances for the same person. Stay with that. Thank you, Chennai Storytelling Festival. Always a delight to be here.
Thank you, Priyanka, for the lovely offering and the interesting activities. And I like the thought that you dropped this thought in our mind that we can get back to this activity 2 months later, sometime future. So it's not just done now. It's something that you can ponder over maybe over a period of time again and again and again. So thanks for that. Thanks for leading us into that activity as well. We will now move on to our next teller. We have Parvathy joining us from Coimbatore. Parvathy, please introduce yourself fully, tell us about your work, and share your story with us.
Good evening, all of you. I'm Parvathy Eswaran, storyteller. I live in Coimbatore, the southern part of India. And I love telling stories. Simple as that. So, there was this king who had. Now, when I tell about this, a king who had something to tell, I always wonder why these kings have dreams and all those questions, and they put it to the public and they say, please tell us the answer, otherwise we'll put you in. Come on, isn't the king supposed to take care of the kingdom and all this? But no, our kings have to think of some weird things, and then they'll say, like one king wanted to know, what's the longest story? You continue telling the story. If you don't stop it, then I'll put you in a dungeon. And the dungeon was full. And there was another king who wanted to know who are the dumbest 10 people. Come on, is this what a king has to do? But those things are for another day. Now let's come back to my story, where again there was a king. And this king had 3 questions. He wanted to maybe go down in history as the most perfect king doing the right thing. You know what the 3 questions were? What is the most important time to do something or start something? That was the first question. Whom all should be there at that point of time? Whom I should say go away, and whom I should keep them close to me? And the third question was, what am I supposed to do? These were the 3 questions. Most important thing I should do. Now the king doesn't remain thinking in his own thought. He has to put it across. And he put it across the kingdom for the people to know. The king has so many questions. Now there are a lot of intelligent people in that country. And some of them came and said, "Oh king, you have to plan. You have to plan right from day 1 to years, months, you have to plan so that the right time comes, you will be ready for it." Another set of people said, oh, that's not possible. How can you plan? You should always do the right thing, always. No pastimes. Maybe what they hinted was, don't ask such questions. Maybe they had that in their mind. I don't know. But they said that you have to always do something which is very, very important, necessary, so that at any point of time, that's the right time, the right thing, everything will come. The other said, no, a king alone can't take such a decision, can't come to a conclusion. You should have a council of ministers. Maybe they wanted more work, some more people would get a lot of jobs. Maybe that's the reason they asked. And they had. And somebody said, see, it's impossible to know what happens to, only a magician would know. Maybe the king should have a magician as a consultant. Then came the next question. Whom should be there with him? Some said council of ministers. Some said, no, you need doctors. Some said you need warriors. So many. And then the third question, what he should do. He should work on bringing the country on science, warfare, all those things. Now, as usual, the king was not satisfied with any of these answers. And invariably, in these stories, you will have the one wise man sitting somewhere. Only one wise man will be there in the whole country who will have the answer for this. And that one wise man was here also in this country. He was a hermit and he lived far away. Now the king decided, yes, I will go and meet this hermit and find my answers. So he goes all the way there because the hermit would never come and come to the palace. Now he has to go. If the mountain doesn't come, then Muhammad has to go, right? Same way our king went all the way there. And the hermit would want anybody coming in common clothes, common man only he would agree to meet. So our king changed his dress, common clothes, and he told his bodyguard, be here, don't come inside, and kept his horse there and went to the hermit's place. And there he saw this hermit. He was an old, frail man, very frail. And he was having a spade and he was digging the ground. He was continuing digging the ground when our king went and said, sir, I have 3 questions for which you have to answer. And he said, I want the time, the people, and the thing he should do. He asked the same question. The hermit looked at him and again picked up the spade and started digging. Now, the king was feeling very bad bad and sad for this old man because he was breathing heavily as he was digging. So he told that man, I'll help you, sir. Give me the spade. I will dig. And he started digging. The king started digging. After, say, about a little amount of digging, he again went to the hermit and said, sir, I had asked 3 questions. Please give me an answer. The hermit looked at him, give me my spade. I have to dig. Oh, that's all he said. The king said, no. I will do the digging. You just take rest. And he started again digging and digging and digging. And as he was going on digging, the day passed and the sun was setting and it was becoming night. It was becoming dark. That's when the king realized, oh no, it's going to be dark. I have to go, but let me get my answer. So he gets up and goes to the hermit. He's frustrated, exasperated. Come on, I'm a king and ask one simple 3 questions and he refused to even answer. So again, he asked the 3 questions. At that time, the hermit said, wait, can you hear something? And yes, somebody was running, the footsteps, running maybe, and it was not exactly running very fast, but there was something which made both of them look. And they saw that a man was literally trying to run with his hand over his stomach, and he was coming doubled up, and he just fell right in front of the king, and the hermit fainted. To the horror, they saw that blood was oozing out of the stomach, they immediately loosened it, and the blood was just gushing out. It was a huge wound on his stomach. Immediately, the king took off his turban, the cloth, and then tried to arrest the blood. The hermit gave some clothes, clothes. He took some more clothes, and somehow, finally, he could arrest that blood. And when the blood was arrested, this man just woke up from his. He said, "Ask for water." The king ran inside and brought water and gave him water. And then he lifted that man and took him inside the hermit's hut. And there he laid him down and put the bedsheet on him. And he was coming out. The king was coming out when he just collapsed there. The king collapsed there and went off into a deep sleep. He had been working from morning. He who never did all these work, he didn't collapse off tired. He was sleepy. He slept. He slept through the whole night and woke up in the morning, early hours of the morning. He opened his eyes, dazed, wondering, where am I? When he realized, I'm the hermit's place after. But then he saw that man who was lying there was looking at him intently. The king smiled at him, and the man said, "Forgive me." The king said, "Why should I forgive you? I don't even know you. Why do I forgive you?" The man said, "But I know you. I know you are the king. And I had come to take revenge on you. I wanted to kill you because you executed my brother and took away my property. But then you saved me. You saved me, and I will always be your slave." The king asked, "What exactly happened?" The man said, "I was actually outside waiting for you to come. I knew you had come to the hermit's place, and I was waiting outside for you to come. But then the day was, it was taking such a long time. You're not coming out, and it was going to be night. So I thought, let me come out. I came out of my hiding place only to be caught by a bodyguard who struck me. And that's how I came running. And here you saved me." That's what he said. The king smiled and said, "Don't you worry. I will look into your property, and I'll also have you taken care of by my own physician." He was very happy that he got a friend. But then he realized, oh no, this is not what I have come for something else. So he came out of the to ask the hermit those 3 questions. So he came out, he saw the hermit was sowing the seeds in that place where the soil had been dug. So he went to the hermit and said, "Oh, sir, at least now, please tell me, what is the right time? Who are the right people? And what is the right thing I should do?" The hermit just got up and he said, "All your questions have been answered." "Answered? I don't understand what you're saying." The hermit said, "See, yesterday you had come here and you felt sorry for me and you started digging. At that time, that was the most important time. And I was the most important person at that point of time because you wanted to help me. And the deed of working for me was something good and which you wanted to do. When that man came running and he fell there, that was a very important time for you and for that man. And he was the most important person at that point of time. And the fact that you were helping out and arresting his blood and saving him was the most important thing. Remember, O king, what is important is now. Now is the most powerful time. That's the time we have all the power in the world. Now. And the person right in front of you at that point of time is the most important person, because you don't know whom you're going to meet later. Nothing you know. And what good you're doing at that point of time is the most important thing to do. The king got his answer. This is a story written by Leo Tolstoy. The three questions. Isn't it still relevant? For me, now is the time, and I'm telling you a story is my time. And you, the audience, are my people. And telling the story to you is hopefully the good thing I've done. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very
Paro.
much.
Thank you so much. It's surely a wonderful thing that you've done, especially for me, because I have read this story quite a long time ago and I've been sitting on it. I like the story. It's quite deep. It's very deep, in fact. And I've always struggled thinking it's a very, very, how do I put it? A little boring in a way, it's too deep to be, it's not tellable in that sense. And this has been on my mind for quite some time. And I love the way you made it light by bringing in our stories about other kings who wanted to listen to stories that went on and on, I like those lighter moments that you were able to bring into the story too, and then of course present it beautifully as you always do. Thank you so much for that wonderful one, Parvathy.
Thank you.
Opening it out to the audience, those are very deep three questions, very relevant questions, as Parvathy has said. Yes, Vicky, please go ahead.
Once again, we have a wonderful story about a ruler who needs to learn wisdom and compassion, and they learn it from an unlikely source. And I think we all have to remember that, to have that read flexibility to learn where the lesson is now, not where we think it will be. So thank you. I thought it was a beautiful telling.
Thank you.
Thanks for that, Vicky. Yes, we have rabbis and hermits giving us some very important life lessons today. Anybody else? Lots of comments coming in as well, Parvathy, for you to read on maybe sometime later. So have you shared the story before, Parvathy? Is it your first time with the story?
No, this is the first time I'm sharing this story.
Okay.
I was thinking what I should tell, and I was reading. I saw the story. Somehow it just, I felt I should tell the story. There was a lot of, because nowadays we talk about being there, and now is so important. I mean, it's more vocal. We start telling about how important now is. And I think in a way it's a sort of a transformative thing where you don't think so much behind your back, your history. Come right there now. That is more important. That's what I felt.
True. The idea of mindfulness and being present.
Yes.
I think that is a very strong message that comes across through the story. Yes, kings with very three deep questions. Any other thoughts, suggestions, ideas, others? About the story, the telling, what resonated with you about the story? So, Parvathy,
I loved the.
Yes, please go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, really ending, Parvati Amma, especially because this is the right moment, the audience for you and you for the audience, the most important person, and telling of the story is the most wonderful and best good thing to do.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Shraddha. Thanks for that.
Yes, as you rightly said, it was a bit difficult to how to bring it to an audience. Yeah, I was wondering how, yeah, as you said, it's when you read, it's a very small story. It's a very short story.
Yeah, it's as you said, it's good to read, but very challenging to tell. And I love the way that you had the courage to try it and, present it in a lovely way. And that gives me hope that I can try it as well. Make it my own and see how it goes for me.
Yeah.
So yes, I will definitely try that soon.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Any other thoughts? Okay, thank you very much, Parvathy. With that, we will move on to our final teller for the day. We have Vicky Ness joining us from California, USA. Let me spotlight you, Vicky. Please unmute yourself, Vicky. She's sharing a self-authored fictional story, The Robe. Vicky, please introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your work, and share a story with us.
Thank you so much. I apologize. It's early in the morning here and I'm getting over a cold. So if my voice sounds awful, that's why. I'm very sorry. I teach storytelling, how to create your own stories, and I have been a storyteller for decades. And so I'd like to just launch right into my story if I could. Kari was looking through a whole book of kimono patterns, and they were so beautiful. Why, here there was a brassy gold chrysanthemum rising out with its spatula fingers, and there another one and another one, bright and beautiful gold against a dark burgundy ground. And butterflies, oh, that was a beautiful pattern. And this one, oh, it was deep, deep green with silver needles of rain pounding down on a hillside, a hillside. Oh, it was a torrential storm of rain, but rising up, undisturbed, were yellow iris here, there. What a beautiful pattern that was too. And she flipped another page. Well, this must have been for children because there were bunnies leaping over the moon. Some of them were polka dot and some of them were striped. And this one, oh, that's the one she loved the most. It was sandhill cranes flying in a mist with Mount Fujiyama behind it. Oh, it was so elegant. That's the one she wanted. Well, the reason she was here looking at these patterns was that Kari every year had missed going to the Obanodori festival at her temple. It's a nighttime festival that celebrates those who have gone before them. It's a time of honoring and calling to and feeling with your heart those that you love who have left. The problem is, it was always at night. And to make it easy for people, it was always on a Sunday night, once a year in the summer. And inevitably, that Sunday night, she would be doing dishes or finishing up the laundry or getting ready for work the next day or helping the children with homework they should have done earlier. And sometimes, let's be honest, she was just sitting on the sofa with her husband watching TV. So she thought to herself, I am going to get myself a yukata made, just for me. A yukata is a cotton kimono. It's more informal, it's washable, it's lightweight for summer, and it's a lot cheaper than a silk kimono. So she ordered her yukata in that beautiful crane pattern, and she couldn't wait for it to come. Well, the day before the festival, it arrived, and she tore open the packaging, and there it was. Yeah, now it was the right size, and it was the right fabric, but it was the wrong pattern. It was ugly. They got the wrong pattern. Oh my goodness, it had little smile faces all over it, and it had Hello Kitties, and it was ugly. It was the ugliest pattern she's ever seen. How could they do this? And the event was the next day. Well, her husband came behind her and pragmatically suggested, well, why don't you just wear it tomorrow? It'll be dark, nobody will see it, and then next week we'll take that up with the store. Fine. Okay, fine. Ugh. Well, the next day, she went to the Oban festival early with her husband to join with the ladies cooking in the kitchen, getting ready for the festival. And she rolled up her sleeves, and with all the ladies talking and chattering, oh, joy rising up like butterflies all around the kitchen, making sauces, frying up things, heating up things, and putting things on platter so that everybody who came to the festival would have something good to eat. Her husband joined the men, and they put up ladders so that they could string up all the lanterns, bright colored paper lanterns, each one lit for the darkness. And then she and the other ladies grabbed the folding chairs that were dirty and dusty and in the closets, and they dragged them out to the grass in the courtyard of the temple so that those who were frail or ill or whatever could sit and still be part of the festival. And the men pulled out the taiko drums and they set up the banners and the sound system. And when they were all through, well, here came the first cars bouncing up the dirt driveway to the parking lot, one after the other, just as the sun was setting, turning the sky salmon color with black trees and just the beginning of cobalt right above them. And everybody had a wonderful time. Oh, they were talking with friends they hadn't seen in a long time and hugging relatives and children running and people eating delicious things and fanning themselves in that late afternoon summer heat. Oh, everybody was having a wonderful time. But then a song wove its way here and there like smoke from a suddenly extinguished flame. It rose up. Oh, and it covered the air and people slowly quieted down to listen to it. And then the drums began. And that was the time to start to dance. And they joined in the dance. It was a line dance, one behind the other. Step, 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 hop, clap, 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 step, step. And one by one, they followed each other in a snake of people this way and that, following each other in the ever-deepening darkness as the music led their spirits out of themselves to beckon to all those who had passed on before. Come and say hello. Come into my heart. I'm open for you. I love you. And like a serpent, a mythical creature, this line of people danced between the living and the dead. And they danced on as the lanterns glowed and the deep summer night warmed them. And then the singing stopped and the drumming stopped. And people kind of came to themselves again and looked around and voices rose up quietly, murmuring like a slowly simmering pot as people looked for their purses or their car keys or called to their children or gave relatives one last hug. And then slowly they worked their way to their cars. And one by one, the headlights of the cars came on in the dark, like the eyes of goblins. Woof, woof, woof. The headlights came on, and slowly the cars went down the driveway, stirring up the dust as everybody went home, leaving the ladies to once again roll up their sleeves and go into the kitchen and clean up the pots, and the men to climb the ladders and unstring the lanterns, and the women to drag the chairs back into the closet in the hall, and for the men to put the taiko drums away and take down the banners. So it was late Sunday night, before a work day on Monday. It was late by the time Carrie and her husband got home. And she came out of the bathroom with one of those cosmetic towels, wiping off her cosmetics. And she was going to say something to her husband, but he was standing at the foot of the bed, looking down. He had stretched out her ukata, the arms wide open. And she stood next to him, and it was stained from everything that had happened that day, which made it even uglier. It was so ugly. And she was about to say something nasty about it when he smiled and he said, "Look at that," he said. He said, "Look here." And he pointed there and there and there. He said, "That's sauce stains and that's oil. Those are stains from when you joined the women and cooked up things for people to eat. That was a wonderful thing to do. And this here, that's a grass stain. You didn't know it, but I was standing right behind you when a little girl ran with her silk kimono and she fell down and she started to cry and you picked her up And you straightened her kimono and you told her she was beautiful. And she believed you. And she smiled and ran off laughing. Yes, I remember that. And that's the makeup from your aunt who always gives everybody a bear hug. I recognize that lipstick. And this is the dirt from pulling those chairs around. Yeah, they're pretty grimy. And then he looked at the grungy hem, which by now was grimy, and he said, all that on the hem, that's just the dust and the mess that rises up when you join the dance. And then he looked at her and he said, you did join the dance this time, didn't you? Then he said, I think that's the most beautiful pattern I've ever seen. And he hugged her shoulder and went into the bathroom, leaving her alone with the yukata. And looking down at it, for the first time she saw something that wasn't silly and ridiculous and a mistake and ugly. She saw community and something that should be treasured. My apologies if I mispronounce some words like yukata and obanodori and things like that.
Such a beautiful offering, Vicky, and we appreciate you waking up so early for being a part of the festival. You don't need to apologize for your voice, definitely not. We appreciate you really being here for us and sharing such a wonderful story. So vivid. I love the detailing. And the minute you said there were smileys and Hello Kitties, I'm like, yes, I don't like them either. So could really relate to all the detailing that you were saying. We could visualize as you were talking to us, and we could see the kimono and all of that. I could see those lanterns being put up, and it's
Thank
such
you.
a beautiful thought, no? How the stains are actually the best part about the rope.
They are. And I think sometimes we worry so much about how people see us, and we need to look more at how we see things. And if we see community, that's all you need to see.
That's a very strong thought in a very unexpected way. You've put it across. Very beautifully done. Very beautifully done. Thank you so much for that. Yes, Divya, you want to go ahead? Let me just pass my mic.
Hello, Vicky. Thank you so much for that beautiful story. I mean, like Priti said, it was every detail that you took us through. I could imagine being part of that party, the dusty chairs, dancing and saying it's ugly and all that expressiveness. In fact, there's something that there's an ad that runs here in India for a detergent that says that stains are good. So it says that, and it says that you put yourself out there and don't worry about the stains. So they carry this as part of their marketing thing. So,
what a clever idea!
Yeah, it's a part of the Unilever. It's now called it's called Surf. The Surf detergent carries. It says stains are good. That's the tagline that they run on. So absolutely, that resonated well. So
I love that.
So thank you so much for that wonderful story, Vicky.
Apologies about my internet, but yes, Divya so rightly pointed out, daag achhe hain. That's what Surf Exo says. Stains are good. Thanks for that. June, you want to share something?
I just wanted to say thank you, Vicky, for the story. I'm part of a lot of organizing, and those mundane details like pulling out the chairs and everything else really resonated with me. And sometimes I think we underestimate ourselves when we're doing those mundane things in our community, how important they are. So your story really brought home the little details make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very rightly put, June, how those mundane things are so easily forgotten or not spoken about or just removed from our thoughts, and how important they are. And that is what community is all about, right? Doing the mundane things as well, not just the ones that you can see and which are shown as the big stuff. But thanks for pointing that out too. Thanks a lot.
I love the husband, who brought it to her and saying, really, I
So
mean,
true,
only
Parvathy.
they can, I mean, somebody close to you only can bring out that aspect. It's not if somebody else had say, oh, what stain, even they say it, but he had that thought to really, he understood his wife so well that she was upset and all. It's very nice the way he brought it out to her.
Thank you. It does take somebody from the outside sometime to help us see.
Nice.
Thanks for pointing that out, Parvathy. Usually the husband is the most easily forgotten one. And this was very, in a very subtle way, it was really put forward. And Parvathy picked on that. Thanks for that. Yes, Shri, you want to go ahead?
Hi, Vicky. As always, it is wonderful to see you narrating and with vivid details. And more so, you write the story. And as more and more families are, keeping to themselves and with even when we are traveling on a train, there is no communal feeling anymore. And at this kind of times, you writing the story and narrating it is like very heartwarming. This is the need of the hour. This is absolute necessity for us to be with the community, go back to those old times when gadgets are taking over. So I absolutely loved the story. Thank you so much. Lovely hearing to you as always.
Thank you. I think that worldwide, especially in America, this is a time for community. And this is community right here. We're in community.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
And there were people who did the details to make this happen too.
Yes. Divya, Priti, all are here. Yes, absolutely agree. Yeah.
Thanks for that appreciation, and thanks for bringing it back to the festival in a sense, how we are a community. So rightfully put. Thanks for that, Vicky. Yes, Moira, you want to go ahead?
Yeah. Sorry, I've got a cold. Hi. Vicky, thanks for getting up, and your storytelling is wonderful and surprising as always. And it's sometimes you hear just the story you need to hear, and I guess that's one of the examples for it. And it's such a wonderful parable when you explain it at the end, all these stains, and they tell their own story. And we're sometimes so blind about how life and other people should be, and we know better anyway. And why the hell don't they obey to us? And we don't see these little things which are so precious and which we can do. We can't change the others, but we can, like this woman who contributed so much to this festival. So thank you very much for that story.
Thank you, Moira. Good to see you. And I'm sorry you have a cold too.
Oh, yours doesn't. I didn't hear it. Your voice is wonderful.
Your voice was wonderful and your telling was wonderful, and we could see you getting excited when she was, picking up those patterns that she loved. And as I said, love the detailing, so beautifully put across. Thanks for that. Anybody, any other thoughts? Vicky, do you want to tell us more about what got you writing this particular story? Have you written it recently, or how or why did you go about with this?
I don't write my stories down. I just remember them. And this particular story came about from going to an art show of kimono patterns. And I thought, and I love kimono patterns. I have a book about them. And I thought how beautiful they are. And so I thought I'd do a story about how wonderful it is to wrap yourself in something you think is beautiful, and basically how perfect things could be, and then they're not, because you get splattered with things, and then you help somebody and you get a grass stain and all that stuff. And so it made me think about which pattern is the most important one for me. But anyway, I'm just starting to write my stories down and I'm going this year, my plan is to do a book, to self-publish if I have the money and if I can do it, a story. And so, yeah, we'll see where that goes. But anyway, I love encouraging other people to create their stories, and I love helping them do that. And I'm part of a duo. We have we help people uh, polish their stories, and I do storytelling to teach English as second language with a different group. And so I like the use of stories to bring people out into what they really want to tell. So
Lovely. It'll be a blessing for all of us if you start writing your stories and publish them as well. Look forward to having your book, showing it off at the next Chennai Storytelling Festival. And I'm sure all of us are going to ask for our signed copies by the author. Thank you so much for that, Vicky. Thanks for sharing that as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Any other thoughts that you want to share? Okay, well, I guess with that, we will have to wrap up Vicky's telling. There are lots of comments there, Vicky, which you might want to look into. But the good part is we still have another 15 minutes, which means I get to share a story as a storyteller and a host. So here we go. My apologies. I was not expecting to tell today, so I may not be well prepared, but let's see how this goes. Here is my offering. So a long time ago, in Japan, there lived a storyteller. He would move from city to city, town to town. He would share stories, and in return, people would offer him a bed at times, a hot meal. And that's how he lived his life, sharing stories and earning a life. One evening, as the sun was about to set down, and he was walking down the foothills, the wind blew, and his bones tattered, his teeth tattered. Oh my God. He realized that if he does not find a home for the night, he might not see the next morning. It was painfully cold, and his old bones surely could not put up with that. He tried to quicken his steps, hoping that he'd find a place somewhere soon. And he did. Far away, he saw a building, and he quickened his steps some more. But the minute he recognized the building, his jaw dropped, his shoulders drooped, and he was terribly upset. And as the wind blew again, he realized, no, he had to do something. He cannot stay out in the open tonight. And then a thought crossed his mind. He smiled, and with a new confidence, he walked towards that door and knock, knock, knocked at it. A little boy opened the door. And he said, "Yes, Grandpa, what can I do for you?" The grandpa, the old man, had reached a dojo, a samurai school. And here, if you wish to ask, or if you wish to have a sleepover or a night or a stay over the night, you have to earn it. You can't just request it. But now, as I told you, the grandpa was confident, and he was there at the door, and the little boy said, "Yes, Grandpa, what can I do for you?" Confidently, the storyteller said, "Go inside. Tell your samurai, the principal of the school, that I wish to fight a duel with him." The boy burst out, but he stopped himself. He realized that it would be rude. And so he said, "Grandpa, you want to fight a duel with my samurai? Why don't you fight it with me, someone younger, the 5 or 6 year old?" The storyteller just looked back at him without uttering a word. The little boy tried again. "Grandpa, why don't you try with someone older, maybe one of the teenage boys?" The grandpa repeated, "Go inside, tell the samurai, I'm here to fight a duel with him." The boy shrugged his shoulders and he walked inside. He thought, I did try to save the life of the grandpa. You see, if you fight a duel with somebody at a samurai school, at the dojo, you get to do that with a wooden sword. And that's what the little boy was suggesting. But if you choose to fight a duel with a samurai, it'll have to be done with a real katana, a real sword. And how do you decide the winner of a duel? Only with the death of the other one. The little boy clearly knew this. And in fact, it is known across Japan to everybody. And that's why he was trying to save the life of the grandpa. But then he thought, if the grandpa's decided that today is the last day of his life, there's nothing much I can do about it. So he did as told. And a news like this definitely spreads like fire. And within minutes, the entire dojo, all the students had assembled at this big hall. Right in the middle was standing the grandpa, looking all around. Every single student, the youngest one and the oldest one, everyone was there, eagerly waiting to see what is going to happen. And there the samurai came. He bent down to show his respect. And the samurai nodded his head to one of the younger kids. The little kid ran across, he brought a katana and he offered it to the storyteller. The storyteller did not accept it. He just kept scanning across the room, looking at every single child, as if trying to find a place where he could escape from, a hidden door maybe. The boy stood there for some time with the offering, did not know what to do. He placed the katana at the old man's feet and went back and sat at his place. He did not want to miss anything. He was there, waiting to see what is going to happen. The samurai patiently waited for some time so the man could pick up the katana. But when the old man did not pick his katana at all, finally the samurai pulled his sword out. And the old man said, once upon a time, in a village, there lived a little boy. Now his house was right beside the river. Every evening, he would sit by the river and just look at those waves. He loved to see the sun setting. He loved to see the reflection of the moon and the stars on the water. And what he loved the most was to watch those fishes play in and out of the water. One evening, as this little boy sat by the river, enjoying in these sights, taking it all in, suddenly he heard some noise. He looked around, but there was nobody to be seen. No human, no animal, no birds. Where is this sound coming from? But the sound continued. He looked around a little more carefully, up the trees, in the sky, by the sand, in the water. Huh? Hey, I can hear the fish speaking. Wow, I can hear them and I seem to understand the language. He listened more carefully and the fishes were talking to each other. One fish was saying, hey, you know what? You should go and swim to the other side of the river. The water is cooler and fresher there. And another fish said, no, don't believe him. I did that last time and I almost got caught in a fisherman's net. He would listen to these stories and then he would go and share them with his friends. And now this became the new routine. Every evening, this little boy would sit by the river, listen to the stories of these fish, and by the night, his friends would eagerly wait for him to share the story. And then suddenly, the samurai bent down on his knee. He said, I accept my defeat. The whole room just jumped up. How is that even possible? No, we cannot accept that. There was no duel. Look at the katana. The old man has not even picked it up yet. How can you say you have lost? The samurai looked all around, picked up his hand. Pin dropped silence. Everybody was quiet. They were angry and upset and not willing to accept this, refusing to accept it. How can our principal, our teacher, our samurai accept defeat even before the duel even started? But they sat there quietly, waiting to hear what the samurai had to say. The samurai said, "What is the first thing that you are taught when you enter the dojo?" The kids surely didn't remember. To be an excellent samurai, you have to be present in the moment. Always alert, always aware. This old man, he took me to a faraway land of stories where fishes speak and children talk to each other about it. He could have killed me any moment. In fact, he has spared my life. And so I accept my defeat. The old man sighed in relief. He was given a warm meal, a cozy bed, and a room full of audience eagerly waiting to listen to his story for an entire week. And that is a Japanese folktale about the samurai and the storyteller. Thank you so much for this opportunity, everybody. This is one of my favorite stories, and I've shared it n number of times, and I love sharing it again and again. It's such a beautiful story for me. I really loved sharing this. Yes, Vicky, please go ahead.
You know, I couldn't tell that you weren't prepared to tell that story. You did a beautiful job. Thank you. It was just fabulous. And I've never heard that story before, so I'm glad that I got to. Thank you.
Thanks,
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, Divya, please go ahead.
Yeah, so wonderfully narrated, Priyanka. And I think it's a nice segue as a closing story that, you know, we are all looking forward to all the weekends that are to come. It's a very, yeah, it's taking us into that lane now. Thank you for beautifully narrating that story to us.
Thanks for your kind words, Divya. Thanks a lot. Yes. Anybody else? Any other thoughts? Thank you, June. Thanks for that. Then I think we will wrap up the first session of the festival and the first session for adults. Thank you so much.
One minute.
Yes,
One
Parvathy,
minute.
please go ahead.
No, actually, if you noticed, though none of us decided this story will tell or that, there seemed to be a connection between, I mean, the stories had some sort of connection, I felt.
What connection do you see, Parvathy?
I saw that now connection is there.
No, but what is the connection? Is there something you want to talk about?
No, I
No,
just
okay.
felt it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that, Parvathy. Yes. It was a wonderful evening of stories where we had learnings from kings and rabbis and hermits and storytellers themselves. And some learnings from within, on the robes that we wear, on the stains that we misunderstand. And I think with that, we'll wrap up today's session. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining in. Handing it over to Eric now. Eric is going to talk about the first workshop that's coming its way. Thank you, Eric. Please take it over.